Hi 419 students. I wanted to do an end of the semester wrap-up video here for you. If you were not able to join us on the Zoom call the other day, and I get that some people couldn't do that, but we had 10 out of 15, which I thought was really good, and we had a nice discussion. Not so much on the readings this week, but just kind of wrapping up what the semester's been like and how everybody's been doing. So that's really what I wanted to do here for those of you, especially for those of you who weren't able to make it. So the first thing I'd like to say is just a thank you all for hanging in with this. You know, this semester didn't turn out obviously to be the way any of us thought or wanted to, but I feel like we made the best of it. And of course, just the amazingness, we wouldn't have wished this, but the amazingness of talking through the class concepts while we were actually experiencing, for the most part, a disaster, a pandemic was just something real. But I just so wish that we could have had the in-class experience. So thank you for sticking with the class for this, and just the substitutions we've had to make. So it wasn't what any of us envisioned, but we made it through. So a couple things. Okay, one of the things I wanted to talk about was on that next to last paper, I asked you all for some feedback on if I were to do the class again. And really, I would like to do the class next spring again, since we kind of was aborted this spring. But if it's going to be online next spring, and of course we don't know, I'm not going to do it because this was just not the means that I wanted to. So a number of you mentioned having more video clips of survivors, which I thought was an excellent idea. Also more speakers. Almost all of you did mention Rainey as being one of the highlights of the class. So that's certainly something, a good idea that we can do. And then a couple of you mentioned maybe making the PSA assignment a little bit shorter. You found that difficult with the length requirement. So I will certainly take a look at that, and I am very appreciative. So just, the experience of living out the concepts that we talked about in real time was amazing. We saw panic, in weird ways, the buying the toilet paper, what's that about? And I actually did a little video talk about that in this series I'm doing about mental health issues. So if you want to go back a couple of weeks and take a look at that. But I talked about how the idea that it's cheap and it's kind of comforting to us, and it's something that doesn't take a lot of space, and it's something that makes us feel safe. So panic, as we talked about, is a fear response. And I think that's the main way that we've seen panic. Who would have guessed? Resilience, the topic of resilience has come up. I've seen people write about it. I've heard our governor talk about it. We absolutely will get through this, and we will see this. And just looking at the response of Muskingum and workplaces and schools and adapting to the changes we've had to make, I just think is incredibly impressive and shows our resilience. And I was telling somebody yesterday that years from now, hopefully, we'll look back at this and say, wow, that was a weird few months, a weird 6 months or a year, but we got through it and things are pretty much back to normal. So we see resilience coming out of this. I think it attests to our preparation. Of course, we talked at the beginning of the semester about how none of us were really all that prepared. Who would have thought we needed to store toilet paper and wipes and paper towels and things like that. So I guess now we didn't spend much time at the beginning of class talking about a pandemic. It was more about tornadoes and hurricanes and things like that. But certainly that's on our radar now. And then groupthink, I believe, is a big issue right now. We're seeing people flocking to the beaches in Florida. I saw a video yesterday that supposedly was made yesterday and just is nuts. All the protests, and no matter what your political leaning and thinking about this, group gatherings are just not a good idea right now. But when you see people behaving in a certain way and you join in thinking that that's the way to feel, that is groupthink. So we're really seeing a lot of groupthink right now. So every concept we talked about in class, really, we're seeing borne out right now. I guess that's really all I wanted to wrap up with. Just thank you, and thanks for hanging with me. And I hope you learned some things. I hope you enjoyed the class, even with the change of format. I missed this class so much and interacting with all of you, and I appreciate all of your participation in the class. So if you are graduating, congratulations. That's awesome. Keep in touch with us. And if you are not, I will see you back on campus in the fall. So everybody have a great summer.